With final budget of $187 million, it was the most expensive film ever created at that time. The budget included a director's fee of in size $5 million and a record Arnie's fee is $30 million.
When it comes to such amounts, I always feel good, but really I would say chose not to dwell on this check, because I'm not here for the money. The producers themselves offered me this amount for filming the picture, and of course I couldn't refuse them.
Other sources say that Schwarzenegger received $29 million plus 20% of profits, and what the actor agreed to give to the production part of your salary, in order to prevent filming from moving Vancouver from Los Angeles. James Cameron many times throughout 90s planned take off third part, but he didn't have a suitable script. In 97 Carolco Studio went bankrupt and its assets were sold to auction. They also included 50% of the rights to the Terminator franchise. At the time, how other half remained with Gale and Heard. Cameron and Fox were interested in continuing, even arranged negotiations with Heard, regarding his share in Schwarzenegger, so that last could have acted in the main roles. After all budget problems and protracted post-production of the film Titanic, Cameron forced him refuse to stage the film. Carolco founders Mario Kassar and Andrew Vajna bought the rights for $7.5 million, and a little later received half share of Heard. To become full owners of the franchise, the duo then founded a new company called C2 Pictures, and hired screenwriter Teddy Sarafian and David Wilson to writing the script for 3 and 4 films. Ang Lee could have directed this movie, but he preferred to put the Hulk. Ridley Scott was also considered, but he wanted to make a movie Black Hawk Down. Steven Spielberg was also asked to direct this picture, but he refused from obligations to direct Catch Me If You Can, and Minority Report. Finally, Michael Bay could get into the director's chair, but he declined the offer to take off Bad Boys 2. In the end, the film was directed by Jonathan Mostow, who previously directed Breakdown, with Kurt Russell. And U-571 with Matthew McConaughey. The director will then say that he wasn't shy when he started working over the project.
I said, here's a movie which I'm going to take it off. That's how I'm going to take it off too. If you don't want to do it, in my opinion, you should find another director.
Mostow was unhappy with Sarafian's script, and invited his college friends John Brancato and Michael Perez to rework the script. Brancato then will tell that the initial attention was given to ignoring the main format of previous films, deleting aspects of time travel and machines killers from the future.
We tried everything, possible stupid scenarios, but honestly, saying it just didn't work.
Schwarzenegger initially refused to star in a threequel, arguing that only Cameron created his character and directed the first 2 films could make a third film. Arnie tried to convince Cameron to James took up continuation, but the director of the future Avatar thought that he had already finished telling story in Judgment Day. Cameron later will say that he refused to direct and produce Terminator 3 because he didn't like the idea of working someone else's script in history which he created. According to Schwarzenegger, Cameron refused to participate in the project because didn't want to take on obligations deadlines.
I like the idea, but case not only in me. I always face that people all over the world see only what want to see. If I'm going to Russia or going somewhere in Europe or Africa. The most frequently asked question what to me ask, will you do more Terminator? My great wish is so Jim Cameron and I can work again, together.
Edward Furlong originally signed contract to reprise his role as John Connor from the previous film, however soon casting for a replacement actor has begun which was excluded from the project for substance abuse substances. According to Mostow, he wanted to start the project with zero and with a new actor. After Edward Furlong dropped out of the role of Chris Klein, John Krasinski, David Walton, Tobey Maguire and Elijah Wood were considered for the role of John Connor. Mostow described the characters as human who bears the burden of being a leader. No one else in the world knows about it, and does not believe it, even if he tried to explain to someone everything you thought that he crazy, so John Connor really interesting character. Mostow wanted a new one. John Connor was warm and he believed that Nicholas Stahl was the right actor for this role. Linda Hamilton later explained, your decision not to return to the project.
They offered me Dream in the sequel. I read the script and was surprised that character my person has become different compared to the first 2 tapes, so I said no thanks.
What's funny, when Mostow signed a contract as director, One of his conditions was that for Hamilton to reprise her role, however he realized that the character was not would have changed since the previous film, and that she won't contribute much contribution to history.
Linda Hamilton too important for the franchise to insert her just as a three-wheel.
Mostow believed what exactly is John Connor should have been the center of attention history, although he planned that old Hamilton footage will be used for flashback scenes. Sarah Connor, although such scenes do not exist in the final film, the director will then say that memories would make a complex story even more confusing. During preparation for filming, Schwarzenegger walked every day to the gym, to gain the physical form he was in filming time of previous films.
Otherwise people would talk about me that he is all sagging and flabby. Plus to this I didn't want to be digitized, so I just worked harder.
The actor rocked every day on throughout 6 months. Each training session lasted about 3 hours, and when filming has already started, Schwarzenegger was in exactly the same shape just like when filming Terminator 2 Judgment Day. By the way, he had a 7-meter trailer with gym inside, whereas he trained between filming. Arnie also performed many of his own tricks. One of the most difficult was developed by Mostow and coordinator Simon Crane. Stunt scene includes TX manager 100-ton mobile crane down the street chasing John Connor. During the scene, Schwarzenegger's Terminator hangs by the arm of a crane, and then he crashes into a glass building and passing by fire truck. 14 cameras were used for this episode, so like the film crew had only one chance to take it off, in principle as with many of the film's stunts. About 10,000 girls passed audition for the role of TX. Initially Schwarzenegger wanted wrestling star Chyna to play this character. Famke Janssen in consequence became the most likely candidate for this role, but after leaving 2001 Fast and Furious, began to be considered about rewriting the character TX, whose will play the main family man of the film industry Vin Diesel, but still the studio changed its mind and chose Kristanna Loken. Loken completed 6 weeks of training associated with heavy weights, fights and weapons. She also studied Israeli Krav Maga and gained 7 kilograms of muscle. The actress also took special lessons pantomime, as her character speaks extremely rare and she had to learn communicate using facial expressions and gestures. Interesting fact, but Kristanna Loken says all his lines in the first 25 minutes of the film. Stahl began to audition about 5 times, and passed 3 audition video before receiving role. For the film the actor went through some weapons training and learned to ride on a motorcycle. And he didn't try to serve yourself as a character previously played Furlong. Among others actors considered were Shane West, Jake Gyllenhaal and Logan Marshall Green. After 1 week of filming, Sophia Bush played Kate Brewster was replaced by Claire Danes, because according to the director Sophie was too young for that to play John Connor's lover. One challenging scene for the visual effects team takes place on Cemetery, where TX acquired an external view fiancée Kate, before moving on to original appearance. This scene required several retakes personnel one and the same area with using controlled camera movements, which were the same for each composition. Original slogan of the film War will begin in 2003, however from this the slogan had to be abandoned due to political situation of that time and the start of the war in Iraq. In the first version of the script was present the character Detective Vukovich from the first Terminator, in the role of which he was supposed to come back Lance Henriksen. It was assumed that this character will confine to a wheelchair. The reason for this were inspired by the events told in the first trilogy film. From the movie cut out the scene in which explained why Terminators look just like Arnold. In this scene the Sergeant Candy played by Schwarzenegger speaks about what his appearance will be used to create the Terminator.
It's me!
When the Terminator walks into a bar for clothes, he breaks the stripper's arm who did not want to give up his clothes, just like and the T-800 breaks the arm of one of the bikers in second film. screams of TX before her destruction, this screams of predatory velociraptors from the film Steven Spielberg Jurassic Park, when the Terminator crashed coffin Sarah Connor, Arnold Schwarzenegger shot plaster, it took 5 takes to do everything is correct. After the third part, Arnold Schwarzenegger won't play anymore in the Terminator before Terminator Genesis. Because of work, Governor of California, he couldn't appear in the next Terminator Salvation film, where he was replaced by a double, and his likeness was animated on Austrian bodybuilder Roland Kickinger, and this is the last main one-role Arnie, but not his last acting, before the election of the Governor of California October 7, 2003.
For me then cinema was a past stage. Once too the same thing happened with bodybuilding. I'm there and there reached the top, to me became already not interesting. In life this often happens when there comes a time when you feel that necessary need to move on, study something else. I like to do something else, I like to do something new, study this matter and achieve success. And it doesn't matter what conflicts occur and what ensues struggle. This is the only way to receive from life's pleasure. And where is the best place on earth to give up everything and start new business and have fun? This is the place, California.
There were rumors that James Cameron was like this little upset about the direction of the franchise, that's a little didn't cry. Also they say that Arnold was equally saddened by the end product, apologized to Cameron. The central idea of Cameron's films about people's responsibility for their future changed to the exact opposite. Her self-painting is only an action film, without any philosophical or ethical implications, and characteristic realism is sacrificed, the special effects shown. But serious revealing the characters of the main characters gave way to wit, film abounds jokes. Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines received in generally positive reviews and earned $433 million worldwide. Terminator 3 sequel has been released in 2009 under the name Terminator Salvation. His plot continues element 3 of the film and the action is moved post-apocalypse. What's interesting, the fourth film should have had a new one planned trilogy, but it didn't took place due to failure at the box office. Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite moments from the Terminator franchise, this is when the Terminator is trying to be human, that's why that this is really something funny and not just action and violence. After all, the main thing for a Terminator is to mix with crowd, and when he does it and endures failure is always a big laugh audiences.
My Terminator is a character fictional fantasy world, leaving people away from boring reality. That's why he's so popular.